Hey, John.
Hey, Eric. How you doing tonight?
Good. Day early because regular podcast night is also a holiday of some sort.
February 14th?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea to keep that evening free.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So this will be our third week of not actually recording on Wednesday nights, which is kind of funny and weird. But
yeah,
hey,
whatever.
It's a busy time. It's a busy time.
Yeah.
So.
Did you watch the Sportsball activity over the weekend?
I did. There were commercials interspersed with something else.
With Sportsball.
Actually, the frustrating thing for me is that I think I complained last week or the week before that my Tableau isn't working.
Right.
And I put it on and I was like, hey, I can get to live TV. And I pushed play and then it played for 10 minutes and then just locked up again or whatever it does that causes it to just spin and then just not work until I unplug it and plug it back in. Anyway, serenity at some point.
Yeah.
But I do have Paramount Plus, so I could stream it, but then you can't pause it. And anyway, what is this? I feel like I'm living in the 80s or something like that, back before TiVo.
Commercials?
Yeah. I mean, I
have to watch commercials?
I forget if I've said on this, but I was an early adopter of TiVo.
Yeah.
I went up to a buddy's house we were living in Corvallis at the time, so it had to be sometime between 1995 and 2000, and saw a TiVo, and I was just like, that is the future. And I was so impressed. And so I don't think I've not been able to pause TV. And so here it is, 2024. And I literally was like, how is it that I, John King, cannot pause TV?
Yeah.
And really it's because what do I watch? Hey, have you seen? No.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yes, I did watch it. It was enjoyable. I didn't, I wasn't really rooting for one or the other. So I was I really thought San Francisco was going to win, though.
That's who we were rooting for growing up in that Northern California. Yeah, we were rooting for the Niners. Didn't quite make it. Not bad for a rookie quarterback, though.
Not bad. Blocked extra points. That would have been good. Yeah. Anyway.
Cool.
So, anyway, I assumed you watched it too, and
yeah,
didn't have as
we
many troubles.
We usually have a Super Bowl party. We do the charcuterie tray and 7-layer dip. Although we do build your own 7-layer dip. We just have all the 7-layer dip parts out, and people can put whatever parts they want on their custom 7-layer dip. So some people are 5-layer dip, other people are 9-layer dip. So but
yeah. No, I resemble that remark.
Yeah, it's just fun. Then I suppose the other exciting thing that happened to me over this weekend is my boy, senior in high school, about ready to graduate, comes up to me and says, "Hey, Dad, can you teach me how to code?" A little tear came into the corner of my eye.
What?
This is too late. And by teach me how to code, it was, I want to learn some Python and how to make web pages. So we went through HTML and how HTML works. And so, baby steps.
Yeah.
He's enjoying it. He's building his own website now to make it look, but by hand. He's not using he wants to build it by hand so he understands what goes on under the covers. So
you didn't show him cascading style sheets.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, you did.
I didn't show him style sheets per se. I showed him styles in tags. So if you want to make the font large, not CSS, but CSS, baby CSS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's having fun.
Son, let me introduce you to jQuery.
I need him to get some other foundational things in first.
So, how do you feel about your son's first language being JavaScript?
Well, no, I have told him that JavaScript is horrible and evil, and thou shalt not learn JavaScript, but I would be happy to teach him Python. So he's not doing web pages with JavaScript now.
I was going to say
he's just doing straight up HTML.
You're like, let me teach you about TypeScript.
Yeah. Let's not do JavaScript. Yeah.
Anyway, okay, all right. Well, sorry. So that's a lot of in-joke talk.
It's all good.
So,
no. And then somehow over the weekend, my cell phone decided it should stop connecting to the cell tower. All of a sudden, my phone is in SOS mode only. Like every other phone in the house, perfect, 4 bars, good cell. Mine, not so much in the house. If I drive my phone down the street a mile, cell service is back. So something about my phone and the cell tower don't like each other. And tonight I discovered that I was thinking, well, maybe it was my specific model of cell phone has a specific configuration file from that cell tower that is somehow messed up, not just my phone, but like that model of phone. That's what was my theory. I was hanging out with a guy tonight who has the exact same model and color of my cell phone, and he's
color matters.
Yeah, they're both purple phones. His phone cell service works just fine. So it is somehow specifically my phone. So my next thought here, after much other consternation, is I might just go down to the Apple Store and say, hey, run your magic hardware checker tool, despite the fact that I will probably have perfectly functioning cell service in the Apple Store, because as long as I'm not near my house, maybe there is something about one frequency that it can't pick up and won't rotate to the others. Because if I look at my battery, the battery is dying. And 65% of the battery use every day now is searching for cell service.
Interesting.
So I don't know what's wrong with my phone. I'm hoping there's an update or something somewhere, because I still have until November until I can get another phone for cheap.
Reduced price.
Yes, reduced price.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm grumpy about my phone.
The gremlins.
Yeah.
The gremlins stole and are playing with your airwaves.
Something.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Anyways, follow up. before I wallow into a hole.
Before you drown yourself in misery.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did throw stuff in follow-up because a couple weeks ago I had the election day deepfake calling voters in New Hampshire, telling them not to vote because your vote is very important to us.
Of course,
you should really save it for the general election. Definitely don't vote in the primary.
Yeah,
you'd waste it. So anyway, two kind of follow-ups. The first is that the New Hampshire and the FCC Commission issued cease and desist orders against the two companies that were responsible for those robocalls. So there was let's see, what's it called? Authorities issued cease and desist orders against two Texas companies they believe were connected to robocalls that used artificial intelligence to mimic President Joe Biden's voice and discourage people from voting in New Hampshire's first in the nation primary last month. It was... investigators have identified the source of the calls as Life Corporation, and that the calls were transmitted by a company called Lingo Telecom.
Okay.
So, both evidently in Texas. Now, the officials from Life Corporation, were unable to be contacted, at least by the media. But Lingo Telecom said that it, quote, acted immediately to help the task force of state attorneys general with their investigation. On the same day we were contacted by the task force, we quickly identified and suspended the involved account and will continue to cooperate with federal and state investigators to bring a resolution to this matter. Lingo remains committed to upholding the highest standards of customer care and compliance with all its regulatory obligations. So there was a service provider who is worried about the whole rest of its business.
Right.
And there was a committer, perpetrator.
That was either they weren't vetting their customers very closely in what they were doing, and now they're backtracking, or they did with some kind of consent, and somebody got fired somewhere, and now they're backtracking. Either way, they're backtracking.
I don't know. I'm sure more info will come out over time, but the second part of this follow-up is that the FCC released a statement with a ruling saying, so evidently there's this Telephone Consumer Protection Act, which is the primary law ruling that is what the FCC regulates. Let's see, it says the Telephone Consumer Protection Act is the primary law the FCC uses to help limit junk calls. So this I'm not reading from the article. This is the FCC. This is an FCC press release that says that there's already a part of this TCPA that limits the use of telemarketing or automated telephone dialing systems and artificial or pre-recorded messages to people who have, let's see, it says express written consent from consumers.
Oh.
So the FCC issued a ruling that said that AI-generated voices are found to be artificial under the Telephone Consumer Protection Act.
The A in AI stands for what?
Right? But the intent here, of course, is to sort of proactively issue a judgment or a ruling that will enable, it says, this ruling, which takes effect immediately, makes voice cloning technology used in common robocall scams targeting consumers illegal. This will give state attorneys general across the country new tools to go after bad actors behind these nefarious robocalls. So basically, having a ruling that says this is illegal means that the next time somebody does this, they can just go after them. They don't have to get a ruling from the FCC that says so. So the other funny thing that I pulled out of this was the bottom of this press release says the FCC currently has a memorandum of understanding with 48 state attorneys general to work together to combat robocalls. To which I was like, okay, 48 states. Who are the two not participating? So I looked at the list, and then I pulled up a list of states in alphabetical order. I walked the list, and so Georgia popped out. So Georgia, I found. I could not, for the life of me, find the second state that was missing, even though I went through the list twice, once top to bottom and once bottom to top.
Yeah, I saw your note. I wasn't sure if you were meaning it sarcastic, so I was like, oh, sure. So I was like, hey.
I threw a note to you in our notes saying, hey, can you figure out which the other state is?
So I asked ChatGPT, artificial intelligence.
Of course you did.
And I said, which two states are missing from this list? And I passed in the full list that was in the press release. And ChatGPT came out and said Nebraska and Wyoming. But Wyoming was the last thing on the list. And so I'm like, well, that's not correct, ChatGPT. So I tried a different approach. Hey, which states are not in this list? Tried changing the prompt. Oh, and it said Nebraska and Texas. Well, no. Texas is in the list. And then it was, so I mean, it got Nebraska right. So it got the one you were missing.
That's so funny. So,
but it couldn't get Georgia. And so then after a couple more tries of, various ways to prompt it to guess the missing state or what state is missing or name the state, I asked ChatGPT, is Georgia a U.S. state? It said, yes, it is. And then I said, is Georgia in this list? No, it is not. What are the two states missing from this list? And I asked again, and it finally got Nebraska and Georgia. So
Wow.
I am less. I'm not worried about AI taking over the world.
But
it's going to
you're a
ruin the world.
ChatGPT whisperer.
Yeah.
Okay, so evidently Nebraska and Georgia are the two states which are not participating in the FCC's attempt to crack down on robocalls. So
the robocall industry is big in those states. Why?
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, is that? But you wouldn't think robocalls would be a big source of employment? I don't understand.
Right.
So, okay. Anyway,
right.
So that net, those were the two follow-ups.
Okay, cool.
Companies responsible, and the FCC ruling. So fingers crossed. At least that particular item, hopefully, won't happen later this year. He says,
knowingly
holding his breath.
Yeah, no, it's totally happening.
All right.
It's going to be routed from China or Russia next time,
right?
Okay.
Topic.
So I got two and kind of quick ones. So we are Apple guys. I think Apple fans. We enjoy the Apple products. Although me less so with my phone right now, but in general, enjoy the Apple products. One of the appealing pieces of the Apple ecosystem is the AppStore because it's very curated. I can feel pretty confident. I'm not getting malicious stuff on my phone. I might download crap or junk because there's plenty of junk games and junk apps, but at least there's this facade that there is a review process. And as an app developer, I have sat through 5 days waiting for who knows what button to get clicked somewhere and getting stuff reviewed. The App Store in this last week actually had a fake copy of the password manager LassPass deployed and available in its store for a period of time. And it wasn't called LassPass. It was called LassPass, which seems more like a dating app than a password manager.
I was going to say, wait, what?
But it had got through the app review process. So Apple's whole argument for why they should have their own app store and they shouldn't go to the EU and open up to third-party app stores hashtag because security. They just had a security faux pas, and it got taken down. LassPass actually had to go hunt Apple down and say, look, these guys or this other app is not legitimate. They didn't run and Bleeping Computers, where I got the article, they didn't actually download the app and test it to see if it was doing anything malicious. It was just a fraudulent app, tried to link to things and possibly get you to do something unfortunate, which didn't happen. So that's just kind of number one. Apple is,
not perfect, and
stuff happens.
And that, as far as I know, I guess I haven't read about this for a while, but the amount of search when you search for something specific, having other companies sort of take on the search terms is really ridiculous.
You as the developer can define any search term you want to have people, when they put the search term in, it should find your app. And it's a mess.
It's a racket, so to speak.
Anyways, so there's number one. The second one I just thought was funny, mostly because I loved the wordplay. So this was a SendGrid, is an email. What would I call it? A email campaign website, marketing. So you can send bulk emails, and they boast about having 99% delivery rates to, the customer. So how they send, they're the people that send, and so the title is Phishception. SendGrid is abused to host phishing attacks impersonating itself. So I just enjoyed that concept. So
Phishception.
So SendGrid is, email providers, Gmail, Yahoo, Google, trust people like SendGrid, who is owned by Twilio now, because they are sending, in theory, following all the rules for sending bulk emails.
Right.
Spam, unsubscribe buttons, all that stuff. So it's a good one. But this is a whole article that goes and lists a phishing attack using SendGrid and all the pros of SendGrid that email providers trust to then send people off to phishing sites and send them off to malicious sites through a legitimate platform. So it's sneaking its way through a lot of the email spam filters because SendGrid has, is a trusted sender on some level. So it's pretty detailed, the article. I won't read the whole thing, but it's Netcraft, came from Netcraft, and it was pretty interesting. So mostly this one is, hey, if you want to read about some Phishception and how phishing attacks happen and why your email provider trusts certain senders or not, this is an article for you. So there you go. Those are my two for today.
But look at those links. So the tracking link, they're leveraging SendGrid's link tracker to what would you say? It's not a URL shortener, it's a URL expander. But so that the URL that shows up will be a SendGrid.net URL, even though the destination URL that it'll get redirected to is a malicious one.
Yeah. So leveraging a trusted sender to send you somewhere fake. So if the call is coming from inside the house, all right, there you go.
Ooh, all right. That's a good one. Okay, well, my topic that I chose tonight, I think you might have done this last year. I guess I didn't look, but the FTC released data about the top frauds in 2023. Right. And I thought that would be my topic for the night. So
Scammy Snapshot.
Right. So there's a great sort of visual in. I'll look at that or talk about that a little bit in a minute. But so the FTC data shows that consumers reported. Well, it doesn't say that they only lost this much, but they only reported losing this much. More than $10 billion in fraud in 2023. So it said that it was the first time that they have had more than $10 billion in fraud reported. And it's a 14% increase over the reported losses in 22. The most money lost was in investment scams, more than $4.6 billion. And that is a 21% increase over 22. Second highest reported loss was in imposter scams with more than 20, or it says nearly 2.7 billion reported. And it says in 2023, consumers reported losing more money to bank transfers and cryptocurrency than all other methods combined. Pretty crazy. More than 2.6 right? That's right. More than 2.6 million reports last year, which they said was nearly the same as 22. So not a dramatic increase in number of reports. So the previous data was about how much was taken. As far as the reported prevalence, it says the most commonly reported scam category was imposter scams. Online shopping issues were the second, followed by prizes, sweepstakes, and lotteries, investment-related reports, and business and job opportunity scams. So lots and lots of stuff. But then the last bit I pulled out just from the text before kind of looking at the infographic was that the method. Let me actually read this. The method scammers reportedly used to reach consumers most commonly in 2023 was email. Email displaced text messages, which held the top spot in 22 after decades of phone calls being the most common. So in 2023, it went email, phone calls, text messages.
Interesting. I wonder if
right?
that's because of the safeguards that mobile phones added to text messaging.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Huh.
It wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I found that interesting. But yeah, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's anything else to pull out.
The infographic is cool.
On the infographic, yeah, it says that the per person reported losses from phone calls median was $1,480. That seems so high.
Yeah.
Oh my gracious.
Yikes.
The number of from social media, the highest overall reported losses was 1.4 billion, and I guess I'm a little confused if email was the number one vector. It says the highest number of reports was 358,000 reports. But if they had 2.6 million overall, how was the highest number 358,000? Doesn't seem like there would be that many other categories. So maybe I'm missing something else there.
Yeah. I don't know. Very cool.
There you go. There's my topic. So Scammy Snapshot of 2023. So
I do like that phrase. Scammy Snapshot.
All right. Go. How about something fun?
So my something fun is my boy has discovered, I think I mentioned before, my boy and I send each other Instagram reels that we think are funny.
Okay.
And he has gone down a rabbit hole of nerd jokes, developer jokes, coding jokes. Okay. And so he sends me coding jokes. And so one of them was an XKCD, or no, one of them was a what if from Randall Munroe.
Oh, okay.
And a what if.
Okay. From the book.
And he thought, Dad, can we get this book? This is a cool book. I'm like, it's on the shelf downstairs. Here we go. And so he's like, oh, cool. And then I said, and have you ever seen XKCD? He's like, what's that? I'm like, oh, son, here we go. So I sent him XKCD. The first one was, that's the one I'll put the link to, but it was Log Cabin, total math nerd joke. You have to look at it. It's,
yeah.
You know, I'll put it as the chapter art for that one, but it was Log Cabin. It was, he laughed. He enjoyed that humor. And so but
does he realize that you can hover over them for
yes, I showed him that trick. Yes, okay. I showed him that trick too. He was on his phone. It's hard to hover over on your phone.
I was going to say I don't know how they'll show up on your phone.
Yeah, so we went to the computer. Actually, anyways, but yeah, so since mine was so short, I thought I would also share a couple completely fun mathematical pointless facts about episode 323, which is what we're on. 323. 17 times 19. 17 and 19, prime numbers. 323 is also the sum of 9 consecutive prime numbers. 19, 23, 29, 31, 37, 41, 43, 47, 53 equals 323. Episode 323.
I had no idea.
And finally, it is also the sum of 13 consecutive prime numbers. 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, 31, 37, 41, 43, and 47. So add those all up, 323. Fun, pointless math facts about episode 323. There's my something fun. Little something visual.
You're basically saying the first 5 primes add up to 53.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how math works. I love it.
I'm doing that math in my head.
Well, 13 and 17 are 30. So you only need 5 and 7 and 11 to 23 and you're good.
17 and 26. 7. Yeah. Okay, well fun facts. Okay.
Fun facts about episode
I feel enlightened.
323.
I feel enlightened. So my something fun is one of those things that's probably not a fun thing, but it is an interesting thing. So I threw this in Slack a couple of weeks ago, but I was like, ooh, I didn't want to forget about it. So I wanted to use it. So this is a National Geographic article about a lake in Africa, Lake Kivu, which is in between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. And evidently Lake Kivu. So Lake Kivu and I'm reading here now, is a geological anomaly, a multi-layered lake whose depths are saturated with trapped carbon dioxide and methane. Only two other such lakes, Lake Nyos and Lake Monoun, share these characteristics, and both have erupted in the past 50 years, spewing a lethal cloud of gas that suffocated any humans and animals in its path. When Lake Nyos erupted in 1986, it asphyxiated nearly 2,000 people and wiped out 4 villages in Cameroon. Concerningly, Lake Kivu is 50 times as long as Lake Nyos and more than twice as deep. Millions live on its shoreline.
Wow.
So I didn't pull it out, but evidently there's evidently I didn't pull out the paragraph, but evidently there's volcanic activity nearby and hot springs, and there's basically a source of carbon dioxide and methane that's kind of feeding into the lake from below, but since it's heavier than water, it sort of stays at the bottom. So it says, here's the next thing. Oh, first of all, before I read this, there was a word in here I did not know. Limnologist. Limnologist.
What's a limnologist?
Somebody who studies lakes. Yeah. Define limnologist. Here we go. Hello. Oh, anyway, here we go. Hold on. A limnologist is a scientist who studies the characteristics of freshwater systems and non-oceanic saltwater.
Non-oceanic saltwater. What's...
I guess the Great Salt Lake.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
Was it the Dead Sea is the other one?
The Dead Sea, that's a great one. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
Limnologist. I'll add it to my vocabulary.
Okay.
Looking forward to using that word someday.
I don't know how I'll ever actually use that one, but okay. So back to the article here. It says this is Kivu has a complicated vertical structure, says Sergei Katsev, a limnologist at University of Minnesota Duluth. While the top 200 feet or so mix regularly, the rest of the lake remains stratified. Nearly 72 cubic miles of dissolved carbon dioxide and 14 cubic miles of methane laced with toxic hydrogen sulfide remain trapped in the bottom of the lake. They sit beneath a main density gradient at 850 feet below the surface.
Ugh. Wow.
Right? It says Lake Kivu's eruption would be catastrophic. The lake would release the equivalent of 2 to 6 gigatons of carbon into the atmosphere in a day, Morkel says. For reference, current global carbon dioxide emissions are approximately 38 gigatons each year in total. So a significant fraction of the total emitted by the entire world within a day.
Wow.
That erupted gas would hang over the lake in a foggy cloud for days to weeks. Okay, so evidently this is not news. This is the first I had ever read of this, but so what are they doing? They have given a company a contract to extract energy from the lake. And this company, Kivu okay, is basically, it says it works relatively simply. You take up the water from a certain depth below the gradient barrier where the gas-rich water sits. At the surface, you separate the water from the gas or from the CO2 and methane. Then the degassed water is put back into the lake. Okay. Sounds reasonable and like
but
a
you
reasonable
have
source.
how many cubic miles? What was it? 72 cubic miles of stuff to separate?
Correct.
Wow.
Evidently, at the current, I don't think I pulled it out, but at the current rate at which they're extracting it, it says it would last for centuries. So they're trying to scale it up. So from I think they said something like they're currently producing 26
megawatts.
I don't have it in front of it.
26 megawatts of power currently.
Yeah. And they're wanting to scale it up to 100. But the problem is that how do you return the water to the lake? You either return it above the gradient barrier, or you return it
Right.
below the gradient barrier. And both of them risk causing problems with the gradient barrier and causing the incident that you're trying to avoid in the first place.
Right.
So it says, if you return water deep in the lake, you dilute your resource zone for future years. However, if you dump it higher up, as Kivu is currently doing, the water generates a plume as it sinks downward through the density layer, causing the water to mix vertically. The risk of limnic eruption is linked to this vertical movement.
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's what I pulled out. I was like, whoa, I did not know that we had to worry about lakes erupting. And they even
said...
That's
a new one to me.
A limnic eruption.
For the limnologist.
I guess for a limnologist.
I'm catching the connection now.
You're catching the etymology there. So anyway, there's my something probably not super fun, but
super interesting.
Really interesting. So
all right.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, John. That was a good one.
Enjoy.
All right.
Have a great night, Eric.
Yep. I'll
talk to you later.
Bye.
All right. Bye.